It was 2 in the afternoon. On the square of Saints Cosmas and Damian in Athens. When I stopped my taxi at the traffic lights, a man approached and asked me to Maniti, please. I'm sorry, I really can't. I'm late, I answered him. And really, I couldn't, because it took me 3 hours to arrive in the Piraeus port area. That man left and started waiting for another taxi. However, something inside me told me quietly, you should accept that man in your car. Then I signaled him to sit in the taxi. Getting into the car, he took down the photo of the holy elder Porphyrios from my rear view mirror, kissed it and exclaimed, "This is impossible." My hands were busy at that moment because I turned towards Maniti. Even though I instantly wanted to take that photo from him, seeing how devoutly he looked at it, I was ashamed of my thoughts. "Did you know Saint Porphyrios?" he asked me. "No. I only read about him in a book, and fell in love with him." "Do you want me to tell you how I met him?" "Of course," I answered him happily. "Then listen. A few years ago, my wife got seriously ill. She was diagnosed with cancer. Doctors gave her only 3 months to live. At the same time, my son was finishing high school, and he told us that the boys from his class were getting ready to visit Mount Athos. We gave him permission and the boys went to Mount Athos. However, my wife became much worse. Her treating doctor said that it was the last stage of the disease, and that the end was very near. With great anxiety, I asked the doctor, what can be done to prolong her life at least a little more? "We will do another operation and God help us," concluded the doctor. However, my wife was against the operation, insisting that it was necessary to wait for her son's return from Mount Athos. Our son returned from Mount Athos very joyful, happy and delighted. For the first time in his life we saw him in such a good mood. He started telling us how beautiful it was there, how the monks warmly and hospitably received them, how they all felt inner peace and tranquility there. He said that he really felt the closeness of God there, and that he was in such great joy all the time that he even forgot that his mother was terminally ill. He remembered her illness only when the holy old man Porphyrios appeared before them. "Excuse me, how many years ago was that?" I interrupted him for a moment. 2 years ago. "Oh. Not so long ago. And what happened next?" Hiding from the strong sun, the boys sat under the canopy of a tree. They were talking and laughing, when they suddenly saw a monk approaching them. They stood up, took a blessing from him, and the old man began to speak to them, calling each one by name. As you can imagine, the boys were in complete perplexity. How did he know their names and their family status? Our son then told us about the meeting with the old man Porphyrios and about the miracle that was hard to believe. The old man said to my son, "Tell your mom not to do the surgery. There is no cancer in her." "What? So you know her?" "Yes, I know her. I know all of you." "Excuse me, but who are you really?" the boys asked him. "I am old man Porphyrios," he said and walked away. On the way back, the guys went into a pharmacy to buy something against the effects of seasickness because the ship was rocking a lot on the way. Entering the pharmacy, they saw a photo of old man Porphyrios and said, "There is old man Porphyrios whom we saw on Mount Athos." As soon as the pharmacist heard those words, he was speechless for a moment, but soon asked, "Excuse me guys, did you see that old man on Mount Athos?" "Yes. Exactly him. We are just returning from Mount Athos." "Are you sure?" "Of course. We talked to him. We ourselves were amazed at how he knew our names, and what was going on in each of our families. When we asked him who he was, he replied that he was the old man Porphyrios." "Of course, I believe you that you saw him. However, don't be surprised at what I'm going to tell you. The thing is that the old man Porphyrios died 5 years ago." The children were literally shocked by what they heard. "Well, that's impossible," they answered. "We talked to him. My wife and I were convinced that the school children saw someone else, similar to the old man, who was also called Porphyrios. Because all the monks are dressed almost the same, they wear black mantles and have beards, so at first glance they often look alike." "What? You don't believe me? Okay. God be with you," answered our son. "Anyway, Mom, do you know what old Porphyrios told me? He said that you are not suffering from anything, and that it is unnecessary to do the surgery. We arrived at the hospital in 2 days. The surgery was scheduled for the next morning. Here is what happened at that moment when the operation was about to begin. I was sitting very upset in the corridor of the hospital. And what do I see? The door to the operating room opens and my wife comes out. I ran to her and asked, "What happened? What's the matter?" "The surgery is not necessary, with me everything is fine," answered my wife. Immediately after her, the doctor came out of the operating room. I said to him, "What happened?" "I don't know, but she doesn't want to have surgery." "Wife, what's wrong with you? Are you out of your mind?" I asked my wife again. I made the maximum effort to convince her of the necessity of the operation, but she remained on her side. "I repeat to you, I feel good. Come on, let's retest. Here, you see, I'm healthy, I can feel it. You don't believe me? Let me examine myself again to convince you all." And indeed, re-examinations were done and the next day the findings were complete. At that moment of our conversation in the taxi, while I was driving him to Maniti, the man sighed deeply. And what did the new tests show? What did they show? They showed that she is not sick at all. Doctors compared old and new findings and went out of their minds trying to explain how this was even possible. It is impossible. Maybe we got the analyses mixed up. It is necessary to redo everything again, said the doctors, confused by the new results. In the meantime, my son also came to the hospital, seeing all that scene and the doctors in doubt, so he said to me, "Dad, why don't you believe what old man Porphyrios told me on Mount Athos?" Hearing that, one of the doctors ran to him. "What did you say? Old Porphyrios? What was he saying to you?" "He said that everything is fine with my mom, and that it is unnecessary to undertake a surgery," answered my son. Then that doctor took out a photo of old man Porphyrios and asked, "Boy, did you see him on Mount Athos?" "Yes. Exactly him," answered our son. "Here's the thing, the analyses are correct. Your wife is healthy. You can go home. Right today. Get ready." So, the doctors gave my wife 3 months to live at most. And now, 2 years have passed since then, and with her, thanks to the prayers of the holy elder Porphyrios, everything is fine. She now feels even better than before the cancer was discovered. That's why we love old man Porphyrios so much. We have also visited his monastery many times, and when we are in trouble, he helps us. This man's story about a new miracle of the beloved Saint Porphyrios gave me immense joy. And when my passenger was getting out of the taxi, I told him, "Thank you. And, thank all of you for joining us on this remarkable journey, exploring one of the greatest miracles of Elder Porphyrios of Mount Athos, the inspiring cure of a woman from breast cancer. The healing power of faith, divine intervention, and the miraculous recovery witnessed in this story remind us of the profound connection between spirituality and well-being. If you were touched by this testimony of hope and divine grace, please share it with others who may find solace and inspiration. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of faith, miracles, and the transformative power of spirituality. May the lessons learned from Elder Porphyrios' miracle continue to guide us on our spiritual journeys, offering strength and healing in times of need. As we conclude this chapter, may the stories of miraculous healing resonate in our hearts, fostering a sense of faith, compassion, and well-being. Until our next exploration, stay tuned for more uplifting narratives that illuminate the miraculous threads woven into the tapestry of our shared humanity. Wishing you divine grace and good health.